journal or just some paper and something to write with, as we'll be doing a little bit of journaling today. You can also type it out on your computer, but for this kind of more creative exercise, I think it's often quite useful to write by hand, but it's really your choice. So if I could just ask you as you're coming in, if you could go into the chat section and drop in your name, where you're dialing in from, and if you could please let us know if you're a Tiderisers member already or if you are new to our community. So if you can just go over to the chat and introduce yourself, that would be great. And especially coaches, we have a lot of Tiderisers coaches on the call today. I'm going to call you out by name, but please do make sure that you identify yourself in the chat. Jamie Renwick, Sharice Williams, Marion Biglin, Helen Tuddenham, Mael Fontenot. So many of you are on here, just so great. Lindsay Barbie, Mel Shabazian, Alberta McKnight, Aparnas Sagal, and then of course, Erin Perkins, who is our amazing ops manager here, and Katie Singh, who I think probably a lot of you have interacted with one or both of them. Katie Singh is our Chief Growth and Strategy Officer. So thank you all for being here tonight. I just want to let you guys know, I've had a bit of a day today. I'm in London. We're under a very restrictive lockdown right now. My kids are home. We're doing distance learning, and I am not sort of in my best place, to say the least these days. I found myself waking up this morning and just feeling like, honestly, I don't know how I'm going to do this day. I don't know how I'm going to do this webinar. I'm just not in the right place. So I just wanted to let you know that's how you're getting me today. And, you know, that's okay, because I know probably not all of you are feeling 100% yourselves these days, not totally on top of your game. And Tiderisers is a place where we can always show up just as we are. None of us have to be on when we're here. You don't have to be living up to somebody else's expectation of who you should be when you're with us. Everyone here shows up powerful, strong, and able just as you are. And I was kind of reflecting on this and thinking back to a conversation I had with Dr. Katie, who is our Tiderisers health and wellness coach. She and I were talking the other day, and she said to me, you know, you do have the resources to get through this. And I've been kind of using that as a mantra, and I just wanted to offer that to all of you as a mantra as well. Like, we do have the resources to do the things that we need to do, even when it's challenging. And the resource that I have that I rely on so heavily is the Tiderisers community, because the depth and the breadth of these resources that we all bring to bear is so amazing, and that's what keeps me going. So I just wanted to thank you all for being with me here tonight, because I know at the end of this hour, I'm going to be in a better place. So thank you for that. And now I know because we're all coming from different places. We have people dialing in from everywhere, which is really exciting. We're all living in very different experiences. So I just wanted to give you all a moment to check in with yourself and just take an inventory of how you're feeling right in this moment. And if you feel comfortable and it's helpful for you, you could even close your eyes and take a deep breath and just focus on where you're at right now. And you may want to even write down in your journal or on your piece of paper that you have just a few words that describe where you're at in this moment. If you feel like sharing it in the chat, you're very welcome to do that as well. I think when we're going into the process of setting intentions for ourselves, it's really important to acknowledge and honor where we're at right now. So take a moment to do that. While you're doing that, I'm just going to run through a little bit of a roadmap of where we're going to be today. Can everybody see my screen? Can I get a thumbs up if you're, thank you, great. So this is our roadmap for today. I had a little bit of fun with graphics while I was preparing for this. We're going to start with purpose. So we're going to learn the purpose of setting intentions versus goals and how intentions might serve you well. We are going to move on to wanna-dos. Wanna-dos are all those things that may be sitting in the back of your mind that you've been thinking about forever that you really want to do and you've just never gotten to it. So we're going to explore that a little bit. We're going to go through a process of uncovering our values. And then we're going to harvest those wanna-dos and leverage our values to create at least a first draft of intentions for the year ahead. And then you're going to learn how Tide Risers can help you meet those intentions. So that's what we're going to be doing over the course of the next hour. So intentions. Today we're going to be working on, as I said, a first draft of setting intentions for you for 2021. I tend to prefer to work with intentions rather than goals in most situations like this for a couple of reasons. Intentions are about how we want to be, not what we want to do. And this is a really powerful concept, especially in a time when we can't necessarily plan or predict what we're going to be able to do. Also, I just find for many of us rather ambitious women, we can get so caught up in all the work that it takes to plan things to do that we lose sight of how we want to be in the world. Now, goal setting, I'm not against goal setting. Goal setting can be really important when it comes to specific measurable deliverables and sort of work-related output. There are situations in which I think it makes a lot of sense to set goals. For example, I think financial goals are really important, making sure you're saving enough for retirement. Eating leafy greens, making sure you're doing that enough times each week. These are like the times when you want an array of sort of measurable specific goals, and you're going to have like all of those that relate to your industry, whatever industry you're in. But when it comes to how we want to live our lives, goals just feel a little bit too binary and punitive to me. You sort of meet your goal and win, or you don't meet your goal and you fail. And I think life just requires a bit more finesse than that, especially in a time like this. The other important thing about intentions for me is that they leave open more possibility for new and different ways of solving problems. So when we're trying to solve problems or just move an effort forward, we tend to work off of existing assumptions we have. And we all do this without realizing it, but these assumptions can actually be incorrect. We don't always have to do things the way we think we have to do them. So when we set goals with specific measures and deliverables in place, we're cementing in place actions based on these assumptions. But if our assumptions haven't been challenged, those actions may not actually get us the best outcomes. So when we work more with intentions, we give ourselves the opportunity to explore more broadly pathways that may get us to where we need to go. So just to sort of make this a little more concrete, I thought I would share with you an example of a goal versus an intention in my life right now. So I have a goal, I'm a coach. I have a goal for this year to have 12 to 16 private coaching sessions per month. So this is a goal that directly translates to my professional financial goals, which supports goals that we have as a family for doing the things we need to do. But my intention for this year is to be open to new learning that will inform my coaching practice. So this is how I want to be in the world. Now, this intention could take me in a lot of different places. For one thing, it could mean, and one of the things that I've acted on already is bringing on more coaches into the leadership positions of Tide Risers so that I can learn from them and grow with them. But it may also mean choosing some new form of professional development for myself or other learning opportunities that are going to just broaden and inform my coaching practice and just give me more resources to bring to my clients. But importantly, if I keep this intention front and center in my consciousness all year, I may find other ways to meet this intention that I can't even think of right now. So I don't want to go into this year assuming that I know all the answers for how to solve an issue. I want to leave myself open to the possibility that I could actually just stumble upon some other way of learning that will help me inform my coaching practice. So what I want to do now is get you guys talking to one another. So we're going to send you into breakout rooms of about 3 to 4 people each. And I'd like you to take out your phone and just snap a photo of this discussion guide, these discussion prompts, or screenshot your screen. And I'm going to ask you to do these 3 things. And it's okay if you don't get through all of these discussion prompts, but I do want everybody in the room to share your name, where you're from, and tell everybody something that other people may not know just by looking at you. And then I'd like you to talk about how might setting intentions, either instead of or along with goals, how might setting intentions help you in the coming year? And then also, what hurdles might you anticipate when it comes to setting intentions for yourself or maintaining those intentions? So we're going to give you about 10 minutes in your breakout rooms. And if you have any problems, we're going to still, me and Katie and Erin will still be back here in the main room, so you can always pop back, but we'll bring you back in here at the end of 10 minutes. And don't feel like you have to get through all of these questions, but please do make sure that everyone in your room has an opportunity to talk and share. Are there any questions?
Lara, do you just want to unshare for a minute too, so we can just see everyone's faces, and then I'll.
Oh yeah, great idea. Yep. Stop share.
Do a quick wave. Hey everyone.
Hello everybody.
Lovely to see everyone's faces. Thanks for joining us. All right, I'm going to open up the rooms. If you have any issues, just hop back or message us and have fun.
Yeah, enjoy. Welcome back, everybody.
I think we're still waiting for people to join us.
Yep.
Okay, great.
It's always fun when you see people come back at the last possible minute.
Yeah. Hey, everybody, welcome back. I know it's always a little bit odd to be just sort of magically transported from one small room with a few people to a big room with a lot of people, but welcome back, everyone. I am wondering if anybody would be willing to let us know a little bit about your conversation. If you could share how setting intentions might help you in the coming year, or if you had any thoughts or trepidation around hurdles that you might anticipate. Does anybody have anything they'd like to share? You can just unmute yourself and shout it out, or feel free to put it in the chat as well.
I'll go if nobody wants to go.
Please.
So one thing that we talked about, Helen and Nora and I talked about from in intentions, is we feel like intentions can be more flexible than goals. So with goals, because they are measurable and specific, doesn't leave a lot of flexibility around how to adjust, especially in this like kind of COVID time. So setting intentions has a bit more flexibility where you can adjust along the way based on what circumstances are happening, but still be, on track to meet your intention for the year.
Yes, exactly. That's something that I find to be really useful about intentions. Anyone else? Does anyone else have something they'd like to share?
This is Laura Moody, and we got to mostly introduction, but we did talk about coming into tide risers and in transition phases, and I just quit a fairly intense job as ED of an organization, and so this idea of intentions for me feels very important because I don't explore, and being intentions is exploring within my values, exploring within what's possible and really being creative. And that allows me to put my intentions around some of the values that I'm looking for, as opposed to the what I'm trying to accomplish.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's so important. And I think, looking at this as an exploratory process is really the right way to frame it. And I think that's something that we all need to be doing now. So the world is changing so quickly around us, and everything's changing. The way we work is changing. The way we're relating within our households is changing. So being open to exploration, I think, is a really healthy place to be.
Laura,
So
Mary Beth had her hand up.
Oh, great. Mary Beth. I'm so glad to see you here.
I'm going to just agree with your last statement, Laura, because I've been reading this guy named Michael Singer who wrote The Surrender Experiment. Has anyone read him? Basically, it is one amazing story, but as the world, as all the paradigms like start to move faster and faster and start to break out and fall out and shift and turn, and the perspectives all change, what this guy says is the most powerful thing that a person can do is to be really aware of what life is putting directly in front of them, and not to say no to it because the noise in their head is telling them to do something else. So intentions can be tricky. If I intend to embrace what's right in front of me, it might be the easier, softer way to move into this powerful rush of opportunity that life itself wants to put in front of us and in our lives and use us with.
Yeah, thank you for that. Yep. So thanks, guys. It sounds like you all had some really good conversations, and that always makes me feel really happy. I'm just going to go back to my slideshow now because we are going to move on to wanna-dos. So if you can take out your journals again, I want you to think if there's anything that has been kind of bubbling in the back of your mind. Maybe it's been recent, maybe it's taken a while, maybe it's been sitting there for quite some time. Anything that you've always thought you wanted to do, but you just haven't acted upon it yet. So jot down for me any of these wanna-dos. It could be something really big, or it could be something really small. It could be writing a book. It could be seeking a promotion or going after a career shift. But it could also be something like allowing yourself to see a movie by yourself once a week that only you will like and nobody else in your household actually wants to watch, but carving out that time for yourself to actually watch that movie. Or it could be about changing a dynamic within a relationship in your life. Quite often we find that there's something holding us back from these wanna-dos. Sometimes, well, very often it's time or money, or maybe it's network or educational credentials. But maybe it's also just that you've been telling yourself that it's too silly, or it's self-indulgent, or it's selfish. But let's just take a moment to imagine that none of those barriers exist. None of those barriers are going to stop you. So I want you to go ahead and write down your wanna-dos with abandon. I'm not going to ask you to share any of these with anyone today, so don't worry if they seem too small or insignificant, or on the other hand, way too grand or ambitious or impossible. Just get them down on paper. So I want you to hold on to those for a moment. We're going to move on from wanna-dos, and we're going to go into values. So when I work on setting intentions, I always want to use my values as a foundational support for creating intentions. So we're going to do an exercise together just to focus on our values for a few minutes. Some of you who are tide risers who are here, you may have done some of this work in the past, but I think it's always a good idea to reevaluate and reassess where our values really lie, especially when things are changing so quickly in the world. So I'm going to ask you to take out your journal again and write down your top 3 to 5 values, 3 to 5 values that are most important to you right now in your life. And just to help get the creative juices flowing, I've put up here on my screen, basically I've started with a list of Tide Risers leadership principles, which are the values that we use to run this organization, and the values we lean on to really direct how we want to relate to one another as women, as professionals. And they are authenticity, abundance, courage, and ownership. And I offer those to you in case they are interesting values for you to consider right now. And then I also just left this big list of many other values, which is not exhaustive, but may help just get the creative juices flowing a little bit if you need some help. So yeah, so write down your top 3 to 5 values. And I'm going to give you a couple of minutes to do this. And I've put these journaling prompts up here. I want you to write a little bit about, to what extent, give it some thought, do you feel that your daily activities are currently aligning well with your values? So to what extent is all the busyness in your life, everything that you're doing on a day-to-day business, aligning with your values? And then I want you to consider, where can you find overlap between your values and your wanna-dos? Now, even if it feels like you're having to stretch a little to find that overlap, or to find that relationship between one of your values and one of your wanna-dos, I'd like you to try to see if you can match them up. So I'm going to give you a couple of minutes to work on that.
Lara, can you go back to the values slide? We had a prompt in the chat about that. Thank you, Lindsay.
Yep. Yeah, thanks for calling out the chat. Actually, I'm not always paying attention to the chat. So do flag me if there's anything I'm missing. And if anybody is struggling with this, feel free to just unmute yourself and we can give you some assistance, or try to anyways, or just drop a note in the chat.
And I will pop the reflection questions in the chat. Thank you, Jonna. Good reminder. Lara and I were laughing. We're like, we feel so off our Zoom game. It's only the second week of the new year. It's like,
we haven't done this in weeks. We'll get back into it. Oh, I see a question here. Can you say more about the alignment between values and wanna-dos? So yeah, once you've listed your values, I want you to see if any of these things that you want to do align well. So I'll give you my example right now. One of my values is courage. I decided of my 5 values, I wanted at least one of them to be one of the Tide Risers principles for this year going forward. So courage. And for me, courage is about having the courage to use my voice more, which I talk all the time. So that probably sounds pretty weird to those of you who know me, but using my voice in more intentional ways. And one of my wanna-dos that I have just always had is that I've wanted to write a book for a long time. And I just have not found the space for it. So that's my wanna-do, and it aligns with my courage value because it's the courage to lift my voice in that format. Is that helpful? Oh yeah, I have seen this values in action. I like that. Thank you. Thanks, Amy. All right, so why don't we move on. Does anybody want to share anything that they might have found, if there was kind of an aha moment for you in this exercise?
This is Lena. I can share. I was doing a reflection, and one of my values is service. And so with the changing world around us and landscape around us, one of the questions that came up for me as I was doing the reflection is like, in service of what? I started out with service, meaning towards my community, towards making sure that we lived in a more equitable sort of society by working with educators. But now I'm like, as I do my daily work, am I in service of that? Am I in service of survival for my organization? Am I in service of, like, there are a lot of competing priorities for who's getting my service. And how that links to want to do for me is that I am trying to make sure that I can pinpoint the things that make me happy in my work. And like those might no longer align with what I'm currently doing.
Mm. Yeah, great. Thank you. Anyone else?
Yeah, this is Cherie. So I had a huge aha. I'm a big fan of the VIA assessment that someone put in the chat. And I never, like, to me, VIA is just a random acronym, but what it's really, so what they give you are character strengths. So the idea is that your values in action are your character. So I have my VIA on my bulletin board, and I just was writing down the values, not looking at that, and 3 of them are the same. So your values in action are your character is like.
Yeah, wonderful.
I have a thought. Similarly, Laura, a goal of mine or an aspiration of mine has always been also to write a book. And I can't recall who it was that spoke earlier, but the question for me that I've been wrestling with over the last year or so has been like, but why? Like a book about what? Like there's always like a different book that I want to write. And so really trying to think about, like, I'm finding it preliminarily helpful, right? Just as we're starting to dig into this, that like, yes, if I really think about what my values drive me to do, like that, I think could lead me to the most, like my highest and best value in terms of what that book could be. Half-baked thought, but that's what's popping.
That's fantastic. Yeah, thank you for sharing that.
I'm having a different experience. Hi, everybody. My name is Falasha Day. Nice to meet you. There is no overlap between my want-to-dos and my values. My values right now are around kindness, openness, and community, which I'm defining as sort of like family and fun, like being in community with folks. And so it's a little bit different in my meaning, I think, and learning and adventure. And one of my want-to-dos is really around, I'm always wanting to write my own story. I'm always wanting to think about my personal brand. And so it's interesting to me to see that, like, I'm valuing family and fun and interactions and being open and kind, and I'm not getting to myself, which is a wanna do. And there's not alignment there. So I just found that to be very different and interesting. I wanted to share.
Yeah, thank you for that. It's so interesting as I'm hearing you talk. One of your values is community. And, you know, one reflection I'm having is that a part of being in community is being open about who you are in community. So I'm not so sure there isn't alignment there, actually. I mean, I think when you are expressing who you are and letting people see you, that's when you really build strong community. And I think that's why Tide Risers is the community that we are, because we do this deep work together and we see each other for who we are. And so I actually don't think there's a misalignment there.
Thank you. I love you. And I love this community because that's the kind of, you know, like sometimes you can't see it. And so anyway, I just really appreciate that immediate feedback, because I wasn't upset about it, but I was sort of like, oh, I'm so outward focused. And I know that it's important to work on myself and I work a lot around self-awareness, which is why I'm able to write these things down. So anyway, I really appreciate the feedback and the push to see a different perspective. Thank you.
Yeah. If anybody else is feeling like they aren't finding that alignment, you might want to think about setting an intention to delve into that more, or to really like figure out where you can piece those pieces together. And that might mean spending some time just reflecting yourself, doing some journaling about it. It may mean having conversation with trusted friends and family, just like we did right now, because sometimes another person can see things about you that you can't see. And that's why we do this work together. So that may become one of your intentions if you are having trouble finding that alignment. So let's move on actually to starting to write what I hope will be at least a first draft of our intentions. Let me get my screen back here. Okay, can everybody see this now? Great, thank you. Let's see, we've done that. We're now moving into intentions. So Erin, if you would drop into the chat a link, I'm going to leave you all with just this template that you're seeing up on the screen now, but you'll be able to go to this link and download it and print it and use it if it's useful to you. But what I'd like you to do is for each of the values you listed, I'd like you to basically make a statement of intentionality that relates to each value. And I'd like for at least one of your intentions to be related to one of your wanna-dos. So you'll see on my template here, I've made number 3 the wanna-do. So incorporate your wanna-do, at least one of them. Because I'd like you to consider giving yourself the opportunity to explore doing that thing you always wanted to do this year. We're living in a time of such great change, and whenever there is change, opportunity is always present. We just have to find it. And setting an intention to go after one of your wanna-dos, I think, is a really nice way to start to look for opportunity. So for today, we're just going to work on matching values to intentions and incorporating at least one of your wanna-dos. But after today's session, you may want to create some goals that align with each of your intentions if that's useful to you. It may or may not be. So I'm going to give you a few minutes to work on this now. You can just sort of like map this out on a piece of paper. I'm also going to show you my example. This is where I'm at right now. My values. And I offer this just in case it's useful for kind of how I try to look at this. My values right now are service, family, community, abundance, and courage. And my intentions are for service, being open to new learning that will inform my coaching practice. I really see my coaching practice as service that I do in the world. Family, being present for real conversations, which is not always easy these days. Community, I want to expand my network into new areas to keep growing the diversity of my community. Abundance, I want to maintain awareness of celebrating the things that I do have while recognizing the things that I don't. I mean, for me, that's, I'm unable to travel. I haven't seen my family in over a year, but I want to just celebrate the things that I do have instead of basically letting myself get ground down by the things that I feel restricted from right now. And then, as I said before, courage is remember to use my voice, and that's my wanna-do, which is the writing the book. So I'll give you a few minutes to just start on this for yourselves. I'm going to go back to this slide and do this work. This is probably going to be a first draft, and you will want to come back to this, maybe tuck it away somewhere, come back to it tomorrow or the next day and take a look and see what needs to shift and change. And it can be a working document. That's the beauty of intentions, is that you can keep coming back to them and shifting them as you need to over time. And feel free to unmute and ask any questions if you have any, or share any reflections.
Laura,
Yeah.
I just want to quickly share 2 reflection points that I have. Hey, everybody. And hey to the familiar faces and to the new faces that I don't know. I'm so happy to have this community, especially right now. So one of the things that I was thinking of, I put it in the chat, but I think it got drowned out by some of the other chats, that there's a value that I don't have as much of that I want more of. So I don't know. I don't think there's any rules here, but I just want to say I think that's allowed. But it's something that's really come up for me in this new year is wanting to have more of a value of fun, believe it or not. I don't think I have enough fun, or am fun enough, but want that to be a value. And then the other thing I want to say is that when we were in our breakout rooms, Amanda very eloquently described how for her intentions, the idea of intentions to kind of lead with seems really much sort of softer, more manageable, and less gripping, I think was her exact word. And I said, when I hear intentions, it's like I can breathe, right? Instead of goals, which makes me feel like it's a little more of the perfectionist grind. So I just wanted to share that. I hope that's okay, Amanda, wherever you are.
Thank you for sharing that. Yeah. I mean, Jamie, as you're sitting there, first of all, you are fun. You might not have enough fun, but you're fun for me. And as you're sitting there, I assume that's one of your kids, like entering your office. I mean, this is just a time when we need maximum flexibility. And I just think that intentions are much better for a time like this for so many of us, where we are just juggling too many things. And the whirlwind around us, like politically, socially, is so intense right now, that I do think that we need the kind of the flexible, intentionality of how we want to be in the world right now. I think is really important and really key for maintaining our sanity, really. So I want to leave it there for right now with this draft of your intentions. Thank you all so much for doing this work with us. We're doing it fast. I hope you'll spend a little bit of time over the next few days reviewing this and going back and looking at this again. I just want to say that sort of one of the wonderful things about the possibilities and opportunities that open up when you work with intentions is that you really do leave yourself open to finding new pathways. And that's something that I call an emprise, is when you kind of come upon a new pathway that's the right fit for you and where you're at in your life. An emprise, as I see it, is the bold and daring adventure of choosing the best pathway forward for you. A lot of us have really, over the course of our lives, somehow taken a back seat in the design of our lives. And I created this framework around the concept of emprise that gives us as women the opportunity to design a pathway forward that puts us in a position of leadership of our own lives. It gives us the tools to find our next calling, be it big or small, and to use that calling to really live the biggest, most fulfilling life we can, both personally and professionally. So I'm going to pass the mic to Katie at this point, because she's going to share with us what we're going to be doing this year as Tide Risers. We have recently redesigned our programming, and we're offering a program this year that I'm super excited about, because it is all focused around this concept of emprise and finding and pursuing your emprise. But before I pass it over to Katie, I'd like to request that you consider setting an intention this year to be open to the possibility of emprise, and be open to the possibility of working with Tide Risers this year to find your emprise and learn how to pursue it, because we'd love to have you join our community. So Katie, let me start up the slideshow again here and pass it to you.
It's so lovely to see so many familiar faces, so many new faces, and just so many of you that I've been communicating with over email. So thank you all for taking a little time in this new year and today to learn a little bit more about Tide Risers. And a big thank you to Lara. This was, I think, a great way to just get a little bit more familiar with the type of content and what we look like sometimes when we come together as a community, and the conversations that we have. So thank you so much. But yes, I want to share just some more details because, as Lara mentioned, like, we are hoping that many of you consider joining our spring 2021 cohort, which we are actively recruiting for right now. So Lara, if you just go to the next slide, I wanted to just share some high-level information about the program with you all, just to start. So the spring 2021 cohort is going to be from March to June. And what that includes is 6 like live Zoom sessions like we're doing today, each led by Lara and another Tide Risers coach, some of whom are on the call today. And I'll talk a little bit more about the curriculum arc, but Lara really teed it up nicely when she talked about this concept of emprise. So the whole curriculum and content is really geared around like, what is your emprise, and how, and the content is really geared to helping you find that and explore that for yourself. So in addition to those 6 sessions, you'll also be partnered up with a smaller group of women, which we call our bespoke group. And that group you'll also be matched with a Tide Risers coach who's really going to help you make the most of your Tide Risers experience and community. So that's, I would say, like another signature piece of our spring program. In addition to the program, like if you join the cohort, then you become a Tide Risers member. And as a Tide Risers member in 2021, you're also going to get some really great opportunities to engage with our entire community and alumni. And I think, Lara, do we have like over 200 alums now?
Yeah, going on nearing 300, yeah, across the US and the UK now.
Great. So we're going to have 3 networking sessions really intended to help you, just meet and build relationships with more women across the network. We have 4 what we call up-level her seminars, which are really skill building sessions focused on different topics led by lead coaches and other members. And then we also have a private online community where you can connect with women maybe from the same industry, around job opportunities, lots of different areas, but it's a great way to just have access to our broader network. So that's a little bit like at the highest level, like what the spring 2021 cohort is and what the sort of broader membership experience is like. So Lara, if you click to the next slide, just going to cover these slides pretty quickly given time, but just know that I can stay on for a couple minutes after too, if you all have questions. Lara mentioned our leadership principles, but I just want to call out again that this is really like how we do our work together. So when we come together for sessions, just generally in community with each other, like we as Tide Risers just really all try to abide by these principles. And I think particularly in this time, in this year, I just call out authenticity in terms of like, this is not a space where we want people to feel like they have to be on or they feel like they have to be perfect. Like we want people to show up and be real with each other and real about where they are. And I think Lara also modeled that perfectly as she started this. Like it's been a tough day, right? And I think like we want this space to also be where we can openly discuss that together. Next slide, Lara. Just going to kind of get into a little bit of the details of the curriculum. Won't cover this too in depth in terms of each specific session, but basically these 6 sessions are happening over the course of the 4 months. And as Lara mentioned, all framed around this concept of emprise, right? And really focused, I would say, on, providing you with the space to reflect on your own needs, where you're at, your strengths, maybe some limiting beliefs that are holding you back, and then really being able to have those conversations, do that reflection in community with other women, much like we're doing today. All sort of grounded in this belief that like you have a lot of the knowledge, you have a lot of the strengths within you, and this is about helping you find the space and a community to help you surface a lot of that. Lara, anything else you would add there just in terms of the curriculum or the concept of emprise?
I think, the way we have designed this, it is really designed for the real vast diversity of our membership. So unlike other kind of networking or professional development organizations that you may be part of that are industry specific or kind of life phase specific, we intentionally nurture a diverse community, and we have people from all walks of life, very different industry backgrounds, different ages, different life stages. And that's really, I think, part of the power of our community. And so we have designed our program to be really accessible to you wherever you're at right now. So, you know, finding your emprise could be, you know, sort of a major life move. Like my last big emprise was deciding I wanted to uproot our lives in Brooklyn and move to London. Doesn't have to be that big. A lot of people have found that their emprise, and you're going to have lots of different emprises over the course of your life, but for some people, their emprise has been shifting a dynamic within their household, or learning to do something in a new way, or shifting a habit. So it can be a lot of different things, but it's sort of your next pathway that you're on right now. And it's really designed to sort of help you be open to opportunity that you may not have thought you'd find. So that's all I'd really add to it, Katie.
Thank you for that. Great points. Great. Well, just in the interest of time, I want to click through the next slide, and I'll leave a couple minutes for questions. And then, like I mentioned, I can always stay on for a couple minutes after if folks have specific questions they want to dig into. So don't want to leave without telling you all specifically, like, what does it cost to be a member? We want to be transparent about that. And also just kind of reframe again, like, what is it that you get for your membership? So there's sort of two components. As I mentioned, you will be a part of the spring 2021 cohort, which includes, again, those 6 live Zoom sessions, 2 hours each. You'll get paired with this bespoke accountability group and matched with a Tide Risers coach who would help facilitate those. And then, you know, just all the other resources and materials that go into each session, you will get through a workbook and guided independent assignments. And then as a part of the Tide Risers community, you'll have access again to that online platform, these networking sessions, up-level hers, and discounts for other one-on-one and group coaching experiences if you would like to take advantage of those. I will also say that we have discounted memberships available. Some of our members from past cohorts have very generously paid it forward, which we love. So please, please, please don't hesitate to reach out if you feel like cost is a barrier to you joining our community. We, you know, definitely are willing to explore and make things work for you. We know it's been a challenging year. So back to that courage leadership principle, don't hesitate to reach out. We're definitely open to having that conversation if you feel like you need a discounted membership.
And Katie, if I can just jump in, for
Yes.
those of you in the UK, that is 1,200 pounds sterling.
Great.
Yeah.
Thanks.
We also have a question about how long is membership? Is it during this session or for a year and being in the community afterward?
Yeah, great question. So basically, it's, you know, once you're a Tide Riser, you're always a Tide Riser. So you would have access over the course of 2021 to these 6 sessions, but also to the 3 networking sessions that we're having over the course of the year, and the 4 up-level her sessions that you're having over the course of that we're having over the course of the year. So you'll have like a pretty full 2021 with Tide Risers. And then after 2021, you will stay, we use Slack as our online sort of private online workspace. So you're on Slack forever. And all of our alumna is on Slack. We also do offer alumna programs. So after 2021, you may want to opt into an alumna program, or we may offer another different program that you might want to opt into as well. But we basically decide, you know, once you're a Tide Riser, you're a Tide Riser for life.
Great. Perfect. So I want to just get to the last slide, because that is the call to action. We are, again, very hopeful that many of you feel like this was the right start to 2021 and you want more of this community and more of this content moving forward. So Lara, if you click to the next slide, applications are opened, as I mentioned. So it just encourage everyone. It's a very quick application, but go to our website and apply. If you apply by Friday, January 29th, we are offering a promotion of a free October 2021 summit ticket. That summit will also be virtual, but would love to see folks who are on today apply. We also have another few upcoming recruitment events. So just wanted to flag those for you here. We're also really excited. Melva LaJoy Jones, who's actually going to be a spring 2021 cohort member, is going to be sharing just some lessons learned over the course of her life and career. And so again, just a great way that we're elevating a member and a spring 2021 member if you want to come and just get a peek into someone who might be in your cohort. And finally, just reach out with any questions. Like I said, I'll stay on for a couple minutes to see if there's some questions I can answer today, but always willing to chat and just answer any questions you may have. And with that, Lara, maybe we can just come off the PowerPoint. And I think as we close, maybe just all the coaches or Tide Risers team members, just kind of give a quick wave, show of hands, so you can see who here is in our community. And yeah, I want to be respectful of your time, but I will stick around and answer any questions that you all have. So if you have questions and you can't stay on, I will be here. And if not, and you need to hop off, again, thank you so much for your time today, and really hope to see all your faces again soon.
Thank you, everybody, for joining us. So good to see everyone's faces.
Bye, everyone.
So any questions I can answer for anyone? I know I was kind of rushing that at the end.
The time for the Zooms, I think I missed that. Are they all the same time, or?
They are, thank you. Yes, they're 2:30 to 4:30 Eastern time. We're trying to accommodate lots of different time zones. So we know that like potentially that could be a barrier for people during their workday, but hopefully with enough notice, we do have those dates set so you can start to calendar those.
Also, we're going to record all of those sessions so that you can catch up with them afterwards. So if you end up missing a couple of sessions, it's really going to be okay. We're trying to make this as flexible as possible for everybody, because that's what we all need right now.
Hi, Lee White. I didn't know you were going to be here.
Hi, how are you, Jamie?
Lovely surprise.
Yeah, I mentioned it to Serena, so.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah, so.
Oh, good.
She just raved about it. So did Mel. So I had to check it out.
Lee, where are you? Are you in Fairfield County?
I'm in Greenwich. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So.
That's showing you the power of our networks, because she's in Greenwich and I didn't know she was going to be on here, and I know her. So
I love that.
That's never happened here. So that's awesome.
Great.
Super exciting.
Awesome. Hi, Alberta. Bye. People hop off. It's like so quick that they come off Zoom. You're like, hi, bye.
Yeah.
Anything else, Lee, that we can answer for you? You have like sort of like a full Tide Risers team here.
Yeah, you've got all the coaches here and all.
I know. I don't know why I probably should have left. I don't have anything interesting to say. This was a lot to take in. But I love this sort of brain work, and I'm really excited about it and a little bit nervous about it, which is probably a good sign, because that means I want it to be meaningful. And yeah, I just got to figure out who's going to pick up my kids. But beyond that, I'm really excited.
I would say I would pick up your kids, but I'll be on as well. But I really hope that I hope that you applied. It's totally changed my life.
Yeah, that's amazing.
I've been involved for a long time, but it's been so helpful to me professionally and personally. So.
Right. Yeah, okay, well, I'm going to hop off. Thank you so much for the attention, and
thanks for joining us.
Lee, there's one thing I can tell you.
Bye.
Bye, Lee.
Lara and Katie, you both did an amazing job.
Oh, thank you.
Great job. And I love that you also brought the wanna-dos, because nobody ever gets to those. So I think that's a really nice way to kickstart 2021.
Good.
Thank you.
Katie, I'm so sorry if I was like backseat driving. I am so sorry.
Oh my God, Jamie, I love that about you. Cause I feel like there's just so many things happening and Jamie's like direct messaging me like, do this, do that. I'm like, oh, she's right. We got to see each other's faces.
Yeah, I was really glad you said that because I always forget that about sharing the screen, is that then we lose the sense of everybody who's on with us. So thank you for that.
No, I just think with Zoom, it's like, it's so, because we can't be together, it's so reassuring to like see the other people's faces. It just brings a different element. Anyway, I'm sorry if I was too micromanagey there.
No, never. Don't ever. It's always, it's so welcomed. And like literally Lara and I were on 20 minutes before this, like basically figuring it out. So Marian, like we can connect, but about your session, and Jamie, I know you're doing a session too, but we were